if you want to buy the Korg Modwave or Korg Wavestate and you don't know which one to choose, this video is for you, because we will create a new patch, actually called the Performance, on both machines from scratch, and we'll see what the similarities are and where those synths are different. So let's get started. As you can see right here, I've got the Korg Modwave on the left and the Wavestate on the right. And as you can already hear, they sound different when you just open an Init Performance. And Init Performance is actually just a new performance. There's a few differences already. As you can see right here, the Modwave only has 2 layers, while the Wavestate has 4 layers. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions is that the Modwave doesn't have the same sample features as the Wavestate, which is not entirely true, because for example, here you have Wave Select, and we can actually choose samples or wavetables on the Modwave, while the Wavestate only has samples. But the good thing is the Modwave has exactly the same samples. So for example, if I go to category and I choose strings, and I do the same thing for the Wavestate, category synth, no, strings. As you can see, they have exactly the same list. Now let's choose shallow, for example, on both synths. And if we listen, they sound differently. And the reason for this is, on the Modwave, you actually have 2 oscillators, oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. And we can use those oscillators to use samples or wavetables. And on the other hand, the Wavestate, as you can hear, we can hear the shallow and it fades towards another sound. And that's because, keep in mind, both synths are wave sequencing synths. And if we look at sample, we can see right here 1 and 2. 2 is, if I press 2, there's actually another sample. And what the Wavestate is doing, it's going from the shallow sample and it goes towards the other sample. And the Modwave is actually doing 2 samples at the same time. Well, actually, it is doing the shallow sample and a wavetable on oscillator 2. So let's go to sample. If I change this to, for example, organ, you can hear the shallow and an organ sound at the same time. If I turn this down, we only hear the shallow. Shallow plus organ. So one of the biggest differences of both these synths is the fact that in a single layer you can do 2 different sample sounds on the Modwave, or mix them with wavetable sounds. And on the Wavestate we only have 1 single sound, a sample sound, per layer, but we can go from one sample to another sample, and we can actually use a whole lot of different samples and just really quickly use them after each other. And you might think, why do I need this? And it's also good to mention, it's something you can't do on the Modwave. And the reason for this is that the Wavestate also has a sample lane for its wave sequencing capabilities. So we have different wave sequencing lanes on both the Wavestate and on the Modwave. Here they are. And what we can do is we can actually, let's say we want another string sound. Let's choose chamber, string, arco, piano. No. Let's choose something else. Eru. Now on the Modwave, I figured out a workaround for this. If you go to strings, select the Eru, they sound at the same time. And we can, for example, use an LFO to modify the level. And if I, for example, use the filter LFO, you don't need to know how this works, but trust me, you can just use level, for example, use the filter, enter, intensity 100, and do exactly the opposite for the other level. So, source filter, turn it down. And now let's enable tempo, maybe make it a little bit slower. So you gotta keep in mind, on the Modwave we can use samples, 2 at the same time in one layer. And on the Wavestate we can only use 1 sample per layer, but we can use different samples after each other, and this is something the Modwave can't do. Unless you use the LFO, of course, to switch the level going up and down between those 2 oscillators. Now you might think, why is this useful on the Korg Wavestate? Well, for example, if you want to create a cool random drum groove with different hi-hat samples, then this can be really cool and fascinating. So let me show you how it can sound by really quickly showing you a performance with different hi-hats. So right now it sounds like this. And now I enable random order. For example, if you are creating an epic intro, I know it sounds a bit silly, but you get the idea. So that's actually one of the biggest differences between the Modwave and the Wavestate. Now, one of the reasons why I personally like the Modwave the most is because of its wavetables. And this is where the Modwave really shines and is actually a different synth than the Wavestate. Now don't get me wrong, with the Wavestate, one of the advantages is that you have 64 voice polyphony, and you actually also have 4 layers, while the Modwave only has 2 layers. But you of course have 2 oscillators per layer, so you can actually use 4 different sounds at the same time on the Modwave, and also use 4 different sounds on the Wavestate by using 4 different layers. So it's quite similar when it comes to using samples, unless you want that glitchy drum stuff. That's something you only can do on the Wavestate. So let me show you what because some people don't really know what wavetables are and why should they actually maybe prefer this over samples. Well, wavetables, as you can see, let me turn the oscillator 2 down. You can actually say a wavetable is like a table with different wave shapes. As you can see in this wavetable, we have different shapes. You probably know these shapes. And you can create really fancy sounds with this, and especially if you layer them with samples on oscillator 2. Oh yeah, I forgot the mod is still on. For example, if we want to create something fancy with this Eru sample, we can add this wavetable. We can also change the position. For example, use the filter LFO to change the position. You can do this by creating a mod. I hope this video gave you an idea of how these synths actually work and especially what the differences are. And if you still have any questions, please let me know in the comments section. Also feel free to subscribe and just check out my channel. I've already uploaded other Modwave and Wavestate stuff. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.